Hello guys, and welcome to the channel, and welcome to a very long awaited sketchbook tour that I've talked about many times. So we will go through today 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, 10, 14, 15 sketchbooks, and I will flip through them quite quickly, and this just only pause when I think there's something interesting or an anecdote that I want to share with you. At least settle in with a good cup of coffee or tea, because this will be a long sketchbook tour. So let's just take these chronologically, starting with this one first. Ready? Let's go. These are actually from Paris. Guy was playing the trumpet. I enjoyed that moment very much. I just, in general, love Paris. It seems to me when I go traveling and sketch, I become more absorbed in my environment and things are just very interesting. Maybe it's also because of the fact that when you are traveling, you're not working, so you are more attuned to things in your environment. You have the time to actually linger. An idea for a comic that I wanted to make at one point. Here again, some sketches for it. About 3 guys. Astral days. Maybe one day, one fine day, we have a sculpture here of Jesus. One fine day, we will get to it. What was that? Niddle, Simon, no wait, Garfunkel, Art Garfunkel. I used this piece down here for a linocut piece later on. Another comic, kind of a film noir comic. Would like to do this in a more clean way, it's kind of like just one spread of comic book would be funny. I don't know. I don't think I will end the story because comic books aren't really my specialty. Coffee on the beach at 9 o'clock. We all slept uncalmly that night. It happens when you drink coffee late. Some studies from a film. blank side. Oh no. It's because I've been coloring in. Okay, let's just flip it here. Some studies here. Get the comic book again. This was for a board game that I wanted to do together with Matthias, who you all remember from the Inktober sketchbook tour, but the idea was just an idea and we brainstormed, and then I think we found out that there were so many board games out there already, and it takes such a long time to create a board game, especially the mechanics of it, so we went a bit way away from that idea. Next up, this is the one from Paris, but came home from Paris eventually, and I want to share with you what happened from that moment on. Just real quick. Here we are. Study of a rooster or a chicken, which I'm very happy about. How it walks here. Goat. Is that interest, value, composition, scale, contrast, and color. That's a good note actually to remember that. Interest, composition, scale, contrast, color. Yeah, gotta recall that for creating children's book. It's also useful for any kind of creating art, to think about those things. I worked at this point here at a caretaking home, so this was just some doodles I made when waiting for the bus, and here I tried to come up with how many iterations can I come up from just one simple bathing duck, kind of altering all the kind of shapes. Surprisingly difficult in the beginning, and then you start to really crank out all kinds of ideas. A fun way to express language. Horse study. Just through these are not so interesting. This one maybe. Couple of gangsters down here. Bad guys. And some studying here. What's that? Camel. Like this watercolor sketch here. Yes, Copenhagen. Guy playing basketball. So that was that. Moving on to, I think that we are still in 2018. This one, I remember there's much text in here, so I'll go through this one very quickly. At this point of my life, it's funny how you can recall all your moments in life just from your sketchbooks. At this moment in my life, I just started working at a very nice company that works with children's books and children's books art exhibitions. So always art exhibitions centered around children's books. And I started working there first as an intern, and then later on as in the company. So that was a very good moment of my life, but also a very busy moment, and a moment where I felt like I didn't have so much time to draw because I had to learn all these new stuffs. These are notes for when we went on a sailing ship with an art exhibition. So very interesting and totally coming out of my comfort zone at this point in my life. We have some Robin Hood sketches here. And this is for a comic book that I really want to make, actually. I said before that I don't want to make that, but this is the one I want to make about one time when I was in Paris, and I wanted to make this photograph. I was also very much into photos at this point. And so this was actually some years ago, and then I drew what I remembered. I would call it flaneur. More notes. I've been cutting out here, as I can tell. Good one, picking flowers here. Good nose study, I think. Yes. Yeah, just sketching, cutting out. This is quite interesting down here, these flowers here. Wow, I've been really cutting out with this. This is for a ceramics project, I think, with my sister. That was that. Next one, a thin one, Fabriano sketchbook. Fabriano are extraordinary at creating papers for all kinds of things, and I like this. It's a quite cute format. Have some coffee. I was snowboarding here with my good friend Morten. These are some sketches I did while on the bed after a long day of snowboarding. Not these ones. Here I came home. This one I recall very much. I used this face here for creating a piece with a chef. But this guy was actually drawn from watching this film of, you know, The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. What's it called? Narnia. The whole Narnia tale. Inspiring. There's some excellent croquis drawings down here. Again here. From the good old days when the croquis cafe was still free. I know it doesn't cost much these days, but I just think it was so nice to have this free option for people who can draw croquis. But of course they have a company that needs to go around. I like this one really much. Tomatoes. This is my mom. Looks really badass, this guy. Really badass, actually. Next up, this one I recall, you can see we're still in 2018, and I like this sketchbook here with this beautiful, it's called in English a jellyfish, very scientific in there. And at this point I was, where was I in life here? Let's see. Could it be that I was in university around this point? Because I recall that I was studying here, and I didn't really like it. I wasn't happy with it. What do we have here? Lateral thinking is like the reversed gear in a car. One would never try to drive along in reverse gear the whole time. On the other hand, one needs to have it and know how to use it for maneuverability and to get out of a blind alley. A book called Lateral Thinking. It's very good also in terms of drawing, how to get creative. Sometimes you gotta switch gear and think entirely different from when you have a problem or a design thing that you have. I watched Vikings at this point here. This is the creepy guy who can foresee the future. I have here some things. Yes, I was writing thesis at this point. So this was just between writing my thesis and getting the job in the company I mentioned before. Text for the thesis. But still, you see, this is actually Matthias who drew this, I remember. We've been canoeing together. I believe that sketch was from that, one of those times. Here it says crisis. So I must have been going through a crisis at that point. I believe this was because of the whole university thing, the writing thesis, and I wasn't happy about reading all those books. And so yes, drawing was kind of what rescued me. Now this one was another book, I can't recall. This is a quite funny sketchbook. Where did I get this from? I can't remember. At this point, I was trying to make a comic book about my granddad's life, who was in the army in the Cold War and became sort of like a fine shooter. But I never got to finish it, and he wasn't very keen about having his I tried to convince him that it wasn't all about showing his identity, it was just about telling his story. Here you can see an idea for the cover, but he wasn't very keen about it because in the Cold War he swore an oath to be very secretive about his mission, and I never could convince him about the project I just wanted to share his story with the world, I guess, and draw the story because it was so fascinating. But we never finished the project. He also passed away a couple of years ago. But I met with him and I talked about, we exchanged the stories, and he told me about his stories, also about his youth. So that was really a nice time we had together because of that project. Because he doesn't live in Copenhagen, so I went there and visited him, and we talked a lot and had coffee together, and he showed me some stuff from his childhood and his youth. So it's never like we didn't make the project, and that's also okay. I have accepted that now. It's always a learning process, and sometimes you have to say goodbye to an idea and let it rest. I believe that can be healthy. We are back at some ceramic sketches here, which went in a different direction. You see that gesture once more. Ah, he's cold, he's freezing. Sunday morning, it's windy, about 14 meter per second. Wind up to 19 meter per second. We ate porridge with honey and nuts, had a lot of coffee. We worked out for 20 minutes and then we bathed. It was cold. Now the sun is shining and everything is peaceful. See, these are the notes that I really like to have, that reminds you of time. This was a funny idea I had about a little comic about a zoo, like animals living in a zoo and making statements about life and about how things are. Could be a thing that I will return to. Good times in the zoo. So as you can tell in these sketchbooks, I talk about so many projects that I want to make and ideas and all that, and I believe that maybe 10% of all those ideas actually become a thing in life. So I don't know if this is just my approach or if that's how it is. I believe that it could be how it is. You come up with a lot of ideas and then some of ideas just never turn out to be how you thought them to be, and other ideas eventually become a thing. These sketches are from when we were out sailing. Yes, I like these sketches here. This is from the interior of the ship. Killing some time. We had these workshops with kids coming aboard, but then we had some time in between, and then I used to sketch. This was from once in my life when I posed actually as a croquis model myself, and I wore these tiny white garments because I didn't want to pose nude, and I did it once, and it's not something I want to do again because I'm way too, how do you call that? Like I didn't feel comfortable in posing nude in front of people, so that was the one and only time I went as a croquis model. So this is a kind of me as a chestnut having that motion. Ta-da! That was that. I have a Moomin sketchbook. And I can see we are traveling again here. Jakakrala Park. This must have been in Bratislava. Yes. A quick horse sculpture study here. My wife. Here this is actually quite good for, I'll be making a children's book about a monster, and he's kind of like a monster, like a tiger, so I'll just make a little note for myself here to remember that. Here we are in Sweden, where my sister lives. She has this house here that she uses for keeping stuff. I've just always been very fascinated about having that as a studio. I would like a romantic dream. But who knows, maybe one day I'll be sitting inside kind of this house and do YouTube videos and illustration. You never know. Bit of messing around with color pencil. Do you remember Jens that played the trumpet? Question. So yeah, that was that sentence in that moment. I think that's kind of funny thing. My wife cutting flowers. Some ideas for some labels for a cider I worked on. What's that? Next up we have some small ones. This one's first. Small but thick. This was for a logo, some ideas for a new logo I had to create, but this is one of the things that never eventually happened. This is my wife who drew me. I think it's a very, very beautiful drawing. I like it very much. She has a very good eye, you know. It's totally my nose and all that, my lips. A drunken chair, it says here. Oops. Good shoe. So we are traveling here again. This guy down here is coughing. Again, some ideas. I like this star very much. Whenever I work on something like such as a logo here, I tend to create some ideas, some sketches, and then I move away from it for a while again, and then I go back to it and look at it again, and this way, that's always the way I've been working. It's not a straight road from A to B. It's like a very wonky, weird road that I take, and that's just kind of been my way of going about it. I've tried to be more structured around the whole idea generation and the work itself, but I just never really found a more organized way. So the way that worked for me is just by being very messy about it and going back and forth, always back and forth. Especially things such as I like this gesture down here, kind of sad. But going back and forth. This is a small poem. I saw a duck, a female duck. I stole a language. I looked, sweated. I embroidered an identity today. Weird, very weird. But sometimes a poem can come up when you sketch a lot and you draw in this notebook. A poem can come up and a weird drawing, and that's the thing I like about this way of keeping a sketchbook, that you never know what happens if you really allow yourself to write anything that comes out of you, or draw anything that comes out of you. These are some sketches from a band that I know. Whatever it is, I know this guy very much. He plays the banjo. He's amazing. But this is his band crew. This was a guy smoking a cigarette. It's one of the songs. Dogs moving. Some funny sketches here. So very crude ink drawing here. I like it very much. Here we went sailing again with the company I talked about in the beginning. Back to the logo, you can tell, back and forth. And the thing is that it never became a thing, this logo. They liked some of my drawings, the ideas, but they never kind of returned, so they remained the logo. But it was exercise, always good exercise. We have a ship here. A good friend of mine here, having a beer here after a day of workshops on the ship. This could be a tattoo. Yes, it could actually. Should I make a note? This is for a different project. Probably use all my notes here. That was that. Next one, small one. Painted this myself. Kind of a self-portrait. Where is this from? This is from, I believe I bought this in Berlin. I think in the big modular store, but I'm not sure. Let's take a peek inside. Some olives. Could it be that we are out traveling again here? This is from the good old days when we used to travel a lot. We haven't been traveling for a long time. So I really miss traveling so much. My sister in her old studio. Sketches of people swimming. Kind of fun to use the, I think it's a Posca or something like that, to mark the skin and then water for the blue, so you have this great contrast. It's funny. Self-portrait of me looking into the fumbling machine or the kind of washing machine. And that's that. Now it's time for me to have another cup of coffee to round off with the last, what do we have left? 5 sketchbooks. So see you in a bit. Back, and ready for the last 6 sketchbooks. Are you ready out there? Let's see. 2019 spring recycled sketchbook. It's a very interesting sketchbook made out of different kinds of reused paper. This is a bit of bookkeeping for a design fair I was on. Sketches from the design fair. Blank pages. Doesn't look like me. Polar bear for a ceramics project. This was from Inktober, I believe. Could it be? But that's not spring. That's weird. Good gesture here. This is also a very good expression. Let me just get a post-it note here real quick. So that's the thing about keeping a sketchbook and checking them out again. You always see something that you can use. I'll just write the book here called Frank and something else. Yes. Good gestures here. I like this one here, walking there, sitting there. Makes me want to go back to drawing some more people, but I also want to draw buildings, which, what was that? Let me just see that again. Yeah. Draw some buildings because I tend to draw, as you can see, a lot of humans and objects, but I also want to draw some more. I like this one really much. Polar bear. Draw some buildings and like streets and buildings and all that sorts. Oh yes, I remember these were some polar bear sketches for a ceramics project with my sister. This one's also quite nice. Whenever I need a gesture or a character, I can always just dive into the sketchbook to see what we have in the goodie bag. Oh, this one is also good for the same children's book. Very good, very good. I have a scared frog here, kind of like a gangster frog. The line work here is kind of interesting, kind of broken line. Could be, what is that drawn with? Is that it's just a ballpoint pen, I think, yeah. Yes. Moving on. This fella here. These ones is also really nice. Quite cheap sketchbook, but it has some great pages in it for doing watercolors. It's also 150 GSM. Yes, could be good for creating the sketches for a children's book if I used watercolor. Croquis. Croquis is a thing that I don't do as much as I want to. It's like, it's whenever I have the time, but once I go into it, it's really good, great practice. Something that I should be doing ideally once a week, but it doesn't happen. But yeah. Is that the crocodile up here? It is. Could also be used for the book of Frank. Sheep. Holiday, and here you can tell we are on holiday, but I still work on the logo here, which I mentioned early on. So this has been a very long process, stretching over years, maybe 2 years or so. Painting or drawing clouds by drawing the sky out, painting out the sky with blue color pencils. Yes. This gesture here could I also use for the book. This was also from one of the workshops, not at the ship anymore, but in Hirtshals, which I have shown you before. So this is the reason of this maritime universe. This is the guy again, my friend here. Yes. What do we have left? Oh, there's one more sneaked in. So let's take the yellow first. 2019. Here you can see, just have a sip of coffee. This is for Inktober, the first time that I participated in Inktober 2019. Some more gesture studies. My wife. Jon Snow. Chickens. A dragon. My niece. And they're chickens, who my nieces gave names. How was it now? There was one called Licorice because he was black. There was one called Solfin. No, Solros. Solros. There was one called, what's the last one called? Mini. There was one called Mini. And there was one called, I can't recall the last one, something with a princess. There she is, feeding them with a bit of chicken food. Now this one's quite interesting. A giant looking out in the landscape. This was for a prompt. I can't recall the prompt, but totally looks like a cookie drawing that I've been inspired of probably. Just want to have a look at the sun again. Okay, the sun is like that. Could be useful for, yeah. Good old pirate. Also for an Inktober, which I then redrew. This is the initial idea, then this is the finished for the prompt wild. This is my wife's nephew. Little slice of everyday comic. Tread. Yes. This one, which I stitched together and made, has this funny little feature here. This here was a frog from a documentary about Murakami, or actually about a Danish translator of the Murakami books. So they have this frog as a character in the film, which is really nice. Interesting shape here. It is quite interesting. I'll make a post-it here. Like that. Some sketches for a song. Sketch of One Punch Man. I never really watched the show, but if I had some more time, I would definitely watch it. So many things to watch, you know. Oh, it's broken. I have a list here of ideas for YouTube channel. So this was where I was starting to get to draw down my ideas. I didn't start the channel yet. It seemed quite overwhelming at that point, but yeah, there's a face down there. Let's see. White of Brighton sketchbook. Oh, eco sketchbook made using reclaimed coffee cups. That's interesting. One of my few environment studies. And we're in 2020 here now. One environmental study and then back again to drawing humans. They also were very interesting to me to draw humans. Using some kind of gel pen here, I can tell. I like that pink color. My wife enjoying a small glass of beer. Some things here. Here we are on the island of Bornholm. Good days, good days. Horses. On a track field, I recall that we were sitting on the wall. We didn't pay entrance. We were just kind of sitting on the wall, and we could just peek into the tracking course of the horses. And it's a really weird sport. There's a lot of money in it, I guess. Seagull. Go. Oops. This one, nice design on the front cover here. Imaginative. The time of my life where I worked as a assistant to a boat builder, so kind of a bit like a crisis, but because I wanted to draw. But here I write, what I'll be doing in half a year from now, I do not know, and this is good. So me, a sketchbook, as you can see, is also about dealing with crisis in life, or periods of your life where you are dreaming about something else. So not just sketching. And the funny thing is, I can recall all of these moments of my life through drawing and through text. I wanted to do an illustration here of a sloth on top of my head, because to illustrate the feeling of being very tired in the morning and not want to wake up, or just sleep more, I guess. What do we have here? Some idea generation for a logo competition. I did not win it, unfortunately. Spent a good deal of time on it. But this one, I was also another logo where I was hired, a small logo of clothing. Playing well now with shapes, colors here. Small composition studies here of how a shape can change its energy. So here it's kind of resting. Here it becomes dynamic because it's diagonal tilting, and then here it fills out the page. It's funny how just those small changes, how it can change your perception of things. Funny one, this guy walking along here. Good color combinations also. Purple and turquoise. Huh. And there we go, people. If you're still watching along, you are a patient person indeed. And we have now reached the final sketchbook of those years, so 2020. Let's have a peek inside. Beautiful sketchbook, by the way. Look at it. I recall it was also a bit expensive. Starting out with some animal sketches. I was very keen on using pencil and fine liners at this moment, or pencil and pen. Also pencil and watercolors here I experiment with. Here it works really well. The is it pencil or is it? I think it's a worn out pen, and then the ink, the pink here. It's a good combination. Kid ascending while pulling up towel. This one here. I like it. Sketches of people out in the summer. Oh god, I miss summer right now. Some yoga poses here. Yeah. Oops. Badminton sketches from a summer with my good friends Morten and Mathias. Fun gestures. Some sketches for a children's book that never just remained an idea. Supposed to do some illustrations for one I know who created this book about her grandmom living in the 40s and 50s, but she got into something different in her life. She became a yoga teacher, and life just moved on for her, but we never finished the children's book. Another unfinished project. That's just how it is. But I have become more aware of how to spend my time, because ideally I want to spend time on projects that I can potentially make money off and that can come out and live its life in the world. So I'm beginning to focus more on working together with people where I can know that they are, where I really know that they are have a mission with their and vision with their project. I'll make a note also for this one, because this watercolor sketch here is just adorable. One right there. Lots of notes here in the end, and that was that. That was simply four years of sketchbooks that you have just witnessed. Usually I turn these around in the end when I've made a sketchbook video. This time around I won't. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you found it interesting to take a peek at how I use a sketchbook and how it's a tool. It's also a creative process, and yeah, it's These are all friends to me, and I'll keep them. Yeah, thank you for tuning in. Till next time, have fun drawing.